All right. So today we have the pleasure of having Colleen Gianatiempo here. And I've taken a few lessons from her, and it's always a good time because she draws out the best in you, I think, the way she does her demos. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think most of you know her. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. I'm just leaving this intro very short, Colleen. So if you want to add anything before you get going with the demo, feel free to, and I'm going to leave it to you. So take it away, Colleen.
Thank you. I think my cat got the memo that he was being painted because he's right here. One of my cats. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you that don't know me, like I said, Colleen Gianatiempo. I lived in the Bay Area for 21 years, and I just moved to St. George, Utah. I'm not retired by any means, but just needed a change of pace. So I really love it. I've only been here 3 months. So the virtual world is great for me because I can still see all my great friends and students. So I will put my email in the chat here if you want to be on my mailing list. I always have virtual classes, and now I'm going to be having classes and workshops that maybe you want to travel to. I'm teaching now in a place called Kayenta. It's an art village here near Zion National Park. So maybe you and your girlfriends, guy friends, whatever, want to come out and do a workshop for a couple days. The place I'm teaching at, they're amazing. They even will find you housing. I'm like, I want to stay in your casita. So anyway, it's really fun. And I have some summer classes coming up that are virtual and some live. So just drop me an email and I'll add you on my mailing list, which should go out in a couple weeks. And so this workshop that I've done a couple of times, and it's really fun. And you don't really have to have any experience as long as you have the right tools. One of the things that stumps most people in watercolor is drawing. So I have had you guys get transfer paper or carbon paper or some way to transfer a drawing of your pet. And I'm going to demo all this, like how you get a picture. And one of the things that I'm good at in demoing is just telling you my stream of consciousness, which sometimes can be a lot because I talk incessantly, just so you know what decisions I'm making and why. So you'll get used to hearing my voice. And please, please, if you have a question, unmute yourself and ask away, because that's how we all learn, from mistakes, questions, and you know, I'm just hoping the demo gods are with me tonight and this goes really wonderful. I'm going to be painting. I'm going to highlight my work area in a second. We're going to get started. And, you know, like I said, if you don't have everything tonight, you can watch, you can just do what you can. And one of the things about me is I always want to see your work. So if you email me after tonight or a week from now or 2 months from now, when you do it, just send me your picture. I'm happy to give you any kind of advice if you want. Or I don't like the word critique because, you know, it's positive encouragement and things that I would do to maybe, you know, improve it, or, you know, or maybe not. So I'm usually blown away by what people are capable of. It's unbelievable, the talent out there. So welcome Concord Art Association. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my work area. And hopefully I can move my cat. He's giving himself a bath right now. Okay, if you're in the view of the speaker view, not gallery, you'll see my work area. And Pat, you need to move, buddy. Go move, go get in your bed.
I've spotlighted it for you, Colleen.
Okay, thank you. So tonight I'm going to be painting this sweet, sweet Bella is her name. She is my neighbor's cat that passed on. She was an old girl. So I have, what I really like to do when I'm painting is, especially, so I can draw, but if you can't draw well, it's always nice to have a reference photo that's the same size as your paper. So my reference photo, my paper is 11 by 15, and this is Fabriano watercolor paper. I don't really, this isn't my love. My favorite paper is Arches, but I like this size and it's convenient. So, you know, everyone has their favorite things in watercolor, but this is a good size. So I have my reference and I have already composed Bella the way I wanted to crop her. I wanted her tail to go off the page, coming in like this. And I'm always thinking about negative space. I don't think I'm going to include this in my composition, this part of the couch, but I really like the texture of the carpet. So how you transfer, this is Saral transfer paper, and I'll always include links for you after I'll send them to John. Okay, I got to get my cat out. You got to go. Bye, buddy. So this has graphite on it, so it's not carbon. So when I touch it, I get graphite on me, which is great because you can erase it with an eraser. So I'm going to go ahead and because this is so large, I'm putting 2 sheets down. And you can get this on Amazon. I'm going to reiterate Saral. I'll write it here on my little paper. Saral is the brand transfer paper. Okay, this is great if you are a watercolorist and you don't want to draw. Okay. So I'm gonna, I have my paper taped down to a piece of plexiglass. You can tape it to an old canvas, anything that's hard. Watercolor paper buckles when it gets wet. So I like to have something hard to attach it to. Normally I like to have my paper tilted for gravity to work in my honor. But because I'm demoing, I'm not tilting my paper, but normally I will tilt it by putting a piece of tape under and just kind of propping it up a little bit so I can use gravity just a little bit. If I were a mathematician, which I'm not, I would kind of assume it's probably a 15 to 20 degree slant. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and place, so that's face down, my graphite paper. And my tail, it goes off over here. So I suggest always taping down your image because things move around, right? And stuff happens. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. And I'm going to go ahead and trace this. And if you can't, I'm just using a pencil. I've already traced this once. I attempted to paint her at another workshop, but it was a live workshop and it was super busy. I had no time at all to paint. And here's my cat again. Go, get in your bed. Get in your bed. So I'm going to go ahead and so one of the things I really, if you are drawing your pet, I like to draw big shapes first. Like this body is a big shape, right? And then we have a medium shape, and then it can be disjointed and you can join it at the end. So if you are drawing this on your own, kudos to you, just get your big shapes in. Sometimes when we're doing animals, we don't know where things start and stop, but you kind of know the anatomy of an animal and you can kind of guess where things start and stop. Now, when we're painting in watercolor, what I like to say is that it's like things are blurry and we're going to bring them into focus. Okay. So we start out really loose and really light, really just kind of messy and out of the lines kind of thing. And you do not add any details until you start bringing things into focus, okay? And it's going to become very clear, no pun intended, when we bring the pet into focus. We're not going to start drawing and painting stripes and whiskers and all kinds of stuff until after we get our base in. And we have to lay the foundation for what makes up this pet is some kind of base color. And I'll talk about that. And we have to think about values, lights and darks. And what we're interested in this is just simplification, okay? So this is just the first step, is drawing all these little, these are the small shapes in the face. I'm not drawing every little black stripe. I'm going to do that last. And I can look at my reference. I'm not going to draw whiskers or holes right now, but I'm interested in indicating where the mouth, nose, and maybe where there's a shift in value. I can get all this in later. I kind of like this edge here. Now, if you want to do a lot of drawing, you can, but I like to keep it really simple. So I'm going to lift this up and see what I got, and see if I need to keep going. And I've been talking so much, I might have forgotten something. Let's see what I got here. Oh boy. So very nice. I don't think I missed anything. I don't know why the eyes look so big. Let me go back in and see what I can define here. They probably do look big because, you know, if we're talking about art, we always like to have a focal point, right? I don't want the focal point to be the ball. I want it to be the face. So I'm going to do this the most detailed and then leave this a little bit less detailed and maybe have a second focal point of the ball. You kind of have to talk to yourself, like, what's the most important thing? Maybe your dog or cat is looking away, and maybe it's the way their body is. So you kind of have to make this, really ask yourself what's important here in my composition. I'm just drawing a few more details just because it kind of looked a little bit too simple. Okay. So that's how easy that part is, right? Hallelujah for transfer paper. And sometimes, like my cat had walked on this, so I can take a gummy eraser now and get rid of some of the, you know, where I was leaning. See this, there's kind of this, it's just an offset kind of thing that happens. And it didn't do so bad. So usually I like to lighten the pencil, but because I'm demoing, I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm leaving it dark, but if you want to, you can always tap an area and lighten it. So if I wanted to tap this, if you have a gummy eraser, look at how nice that kind of gets rid of some of the pencil. When these are gummy erasers, like I said, they're really awesome. And one of the reasons why I use it with watercolor, it doesn't leave a residue behind that can also create kind of a resistance effect with watercolor. Sometimes you'll get like watercolor that won't stick, and it's like, what's going on here? And it's because of the eraser that you use. So if you can get a gummy eraser, I've had mine for, I swear, 30 years, and there's glitter and all kinds of stuff in it, but it's really fun because the more you work it, it kind of cleans it. It's like a self-cleaning eraser. So really good to have in your toolkit. I always have mine nearby. Patch. Here, I'm going to move his bed over here. Come here. Your bed. So, I'm sorry, my cat is very needy right now. Okay. I just thought it'd be fun to have him here. Too bad I'm not painting him, right? But so I do want you to know that I print out a black and white reference photo and a color. And the reason why I do that is because I can see the value. And what is value? Value is how light or dark something is. So I know that when I look at this, see how white the inside of his tail is in this little area and this. And sometimes when you see things in color, you just don't see the value because you're seeing color. So I print out a color one as well. So I can kind of like really assess what's going on. And then if I say, you know, how dark is that? I can kind of look at it in black and white and say, is that black? Yeah, that's pretty black, you know? But when you see it here, it's like brown. So it just really helps me to see the value, and the value is going to be help me establish, you know, this is in front of this and this is in front of that, right? So the ordering of the paws, things like that. And one of the things that's very difficult about painting a pet is they have patterns on them, right? And most of them, I mean, a lady in my last class had a golden retriever, and it's just beautiful. And her issue is everything was the same. So it's either there's a lot going on or there's nothing going on, or you have a white pet. How many of you out there have a white pet that you're painting? Anyone? I have the gallery view. Anyone have a white or a black dog? Oh, hi, Pat. Hi. Happy birthday, by the way. Pat had a birthday. So if you want to put up your reference photo, I want to see what you guys are painting. Oh, we got a black. Okay. Anything else? You guys are just watching. Oh, we have, yep, a light colored dog, golden retriever, or beagle. What kind of dog? I'm not good. I don't own dogs, so I don't know. Okay. So what I'm going to do to start before I get into this painting, I'm just going to do a couple minutes of how to do fur. My other cat, Princess.
By the way, no one owns dogs.
What?
No one owns dogs.
They own you, right?
That's it.
So I have this piece of Arches watercolor paper, and I'm going to show you a couple things. So, and you know, I'm going to go over all the different kinds of fur, hair, whiskers, and just briefly, and different tools that you can use. So I have a toothbrush, very sophisticated tool. And my second favorite tool here is a stick that I got from my yard. And the reason why I like this stick is it has a really nice point here that I can use to make very small marks. Those are my secret weapons, okay, for making animal fur. And the next thing too is a really horrible looking brush. So this thing has seen better days. It's a bristle brush, and I like it for making fur because it's very scratchy. And I think that's it for right now. I'm just going to show you a couple things. So in terms of paints, even if you have just a pan palette, that's fine. I've done some beautiful paintings with pan palettes, so don't think you have to have these elaborate palettes. Mine is pretty elaborate because I teach watercolor, so I have a lot of colors here and a lot of area to mix. But you can, if you have a pan set for tonight and you're just dabbling in watercolor, congratulations, it's a great medium. And just you can go get a ceramic dish out of your cupboard, and you can have more mixing room on that, or anything plastic works really well. For the longest time, as my palette, I had a lid to a Christmas candy. I don't know, Roche something. I don't know. So I usually have a spray bottle nearby as well. So I'm going to first go over some techniques for making fur. So I saw one of you has a black dog, so I'm going to start doing some that's dark. And I have this Payne's gray here, which is a very dark color. So one of the things that I want you to know that when you're doing fur, and we're not going to do any details like creating that fur texture until we get our base coat in. So this is something, this technique I'm showing you is something we're not going to do right away. Okay, so I'm going to take a very little water. Okay, so, and then I'm going to take my toothbrush and load up the paint. Maybe I'll just go right into the pan here. And then I can go ahead and use my toothbrush to create, and let me zoom in on this. I think I'll need a little bit more water here. So it's all about the water, how much water. So you can use the toothbrush to get very scratchy kind of angular marks. It's really a great tool for fur and animals. You know, you have to look at the contrast, even if I just painted a black dog a couple months ago, and it was really a very difficult thing to paint. So just to have the contrast, it's very slight between what's underneath and what is on top. Just a little tiny shift in color can give you that difference that you need. So I'm just to prove a point here, I'm going to add a little bit of light blue to this mixture, just get it a little bit lighter. And the more water you use too, the lighter a paint will get. So if you get this kind of texture going, right? But this is the last step, but I'm doing this now because we're going to get a wash down and then we're going to do some details. So that's one of the way with just a really scratchy looking toothbrush, okay? And very little water. So if you want to write that down, I'll write here, toothbrush and very little water. And I call that, in watercolor, we actually call this dry brushing, which is ridiculous because it's wet, but that's what it's called. So dry brushing. And then I'm gonna kind of move over here and show you if you don't have a toothbrush, which I really hope that everybody does. You can do the same thing with a really bristly brush as you get your very little water. Now, what's nice about this brush, like I don't throw any brushes away because I look at these very damaged brushes and I go, that is awesome. I need that. So it's a little bit less defined than a toothbrush, a little bit smaller mark. This is basically a chip brush and probably is worth about 10 cents. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. People think if they buy all these expensive brushes, they're gonna, you know, be set. But to be honest with you, I look for all the worst stuff because it's the best. So I do have one brush that I like and I'll introduce you to it. So this is a little softer mark. I can make really soft kind of, you know, if you have transitions, if you have like a golden doodle, you know, you got more circular kind of.
Harbor Freight sells chip brushes for about 69 cents.
Oh,
And a package of 10 was $8 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you. And also the pressure in which you use a brush. So, you know, when like a golden doodle has all these like very dark spots, light spots, very textural, right? So I'm just using my brush in a circular motion. So really, the whole secret to all of this is really looking at your reference photo and really seeing what is going on here. Is it light, dark, like what kind of patterns you see in the fur? Now, any questions on that kind of texture making with dry brush and a toothbrush? One of the really cool things I really like to do for, in the end, using this to make whiskers, because if you paint on a whisker, they just look kind of contrived. So the speed at which you use a brush or a tool is so amazing because it can be thick and then thin. And I'm going to do a few demonstrations here. So this particular one here is, these marks are made with the a dry, scratchy brush with no water. I mean, very little water. Okay, so you get the drift. Like it's going to be blurry and watery and a mess, and then we're going to tighten it up in the end. Okay. So the next thing is a lot of really cool marks can be made with a technique called scoring. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. I've got some of this Payne's gray, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit down here. And then I'm going to use my awesome little tool here, and I'm going to make some marks, some furry marks here. What happens is I'm scratching and actually damaging my painting a little bit, but not so much that it's compromised in any way. But this technique where you use just a stick. Now, if you don't have a stick, This is why some of your watercolor brushes have a sliver out of them. You see that angle? That's why, because people are scoring and doing all kinds of stuff with them. I feel like my stick works better, but this also has its place. And so you can see these gorgeous marks here, really beautiful. They're not contrived. They're calligraphic lines, meaning they have different thicknesses. So it really has such a place in painting your pet. But you have to, really study your pet. Maybe this is on, under the chins, usually dirty or scruffy and darker. This is a great spot to do that. I like to do this in the ears of the cat where there's like, it's lighter, but and you can take paint and drag it out using this. Like, let's just say my cat had a blue area here, and then I can take my stick and kind of soften that edge, right? It's so hard to get the edges when you're painting a pet. We get like a hard edge, and it's like, no, it's a jagged edge. So to kind of, get a puddle of paint on your paper and, get this fur going on the edge. So the edges are very important, and we do those last. And then there's also, getting the white paint, doing whiskers. If your pet has white whiskers, I also paint with the stick, and let's just show you. I'll do it in blue just because pretend that your pet has blue whiskers. I'm going to put some paint on my palette and use this as a brush. I'm going to load it up here. And I'm going to go ahead and just make a mark with it. You have to load every time. The slower you go, you're going to get a different mark. Okay, so fast and then slow. Okay. So that is an awesome thing to have. I also like, in the end, I have two secret weapons. Okay. Let me grab it. Oh, I already put it out here. So I have a jelly roll, which is white. So if I somehow lost a white of an eye or a whisker or two, I can get my jelly roll pen. It's a white pen, and there's so many kinds, but this is the kind I like. It's a Japanese pen. I can go ahead and get some white details, right? This pen might be on its last leg, but I have a lot of these, so I'll grab another one. But the jelly roll, and then also if you have pit pens, these are pit pens here. So I have 4 different sizes: small, fine, medium, bold, in this little kit. These are great for getting like around the eyes and things. If you're not good with a fine, maybe getting a pupil drawn in and colored, really, if it's a really tight detail, you can use a pit pen. Okay, or if your dog or cat has a lot of wispy whiskers and things, this is a really nice tool to have. But you can do all that with a paintbrush. If you have a really fine, I'm gonna wet it. This is called a fine line, or a, what is this called? A liner. Oh, it's so funny. I don't know if you guys can hear. I have another cat crying. Oh my gosh. So this is a fine liner, and you can get, if you use very little water, you can get beautiful linear marks, right? And I can use it just like I can use a pit pen. So if I want to do little dots or whatever I want to do. So this pen, or not pen, but paintbrush is a liner. And one of the cool things also about doing fur that is really important is lifting out. So additive and subtractive go hand in hand in any painting that I do. So to subtract, I really like a 1/2 inch flat. So it doesn't matter if you have a smaller one. that's totally fine. But flat brushes are great because of, see how hard this is when I go like this? And this one is so floppy, it's like weak. It's called snap in a brush. So a soft snap for getting like really cool marks, right? This has a lot of snap. This one has very little snap. So that's very rigid and you can lift paint out. So when you're doing fur, it's really important to lift out as well. So fur or hair. So I wet my brush and then I take a paper towel and I don't completely dry it, but I just softly get some of the water out. And so let's say I want to create a little highlight in the fur. Then I'm going to take my brush and create that highlight. But now I can't keep going. I've got to clean that brush because I'm removing pigment. So I've got to remove the pigment and then clean that brush and do it again, right? So this is a great way to get the variation in value from light to dark when you're painting fur. And that's all about seeing, right? So these are like very basic tools. And what I really recommend is that you try to look at your pet honestly and break it down into 3 values: light, medium, dark. Okay, and that's the first step. And I'm going to zoom out now. Please ask questions. And if you're looking at your pet and you have no idea how to recreate the fur or hair or whatever, just let me know and I can offer a suggestion. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here. And I got to move any questions? You guys are like, you guys got this down, don't you? You're all ready to paint fur. So now you have to really practice seeing. We got a great drawing down, great negative space. So she's the positive. This is Bella. This is kind of a boring space here. I might make something up. Maybe it's a pillow or something coming in that makes it a little more interesting. So one of the things about this drawing, when I look at it, what I always do first in watercolor is mask out my whites because I am not good at leaving them. So what does that mean? Well, you can use tape, or I use something called Misket, which is made by Grumbacher. It's liquid Frisket. So what basically it does is you put it onto your paper and it just retains the white. Later, you lift it off. Okay, if you haven't used masking fluid before, it's amazing. I use it in my work a lot. So I'm very interested in masking off some areas in her face, maybe the highlight on her paw, a little bit on the stomach, over here, her tail, this little part here. I'm going to go ahead and just put that on. It dries instantly. One of the secrets to using masking fluid is to coat your brush in soap. And people ask, oh, won't your painting turn blue? No, because I get a lot of it off. It just kind of coats the brush. So I shake up the Misket. I like this brand because mine is orange. And I can see it later. I'm like, where did I put that stuff again? And it's very tacky when it dries, and it dries. Sometimes you get these little gross things in there, but it's just part of having masking. Right now I'm going to use my really good brush. And so what I do is I just clean my brush. So I'm going to get all the water out of it. And I'm going to dip it in the soap, and it's seriously going to like smash it, twirl it, just really get it in there. Just kind of just jab it in the soap. Okay, now I have way too much on here. I don't need that. So I'm getting the soap off by twisting. And
is that dish soap or what kind of soap?
Yeah, this dish soap. You can use shampoo, you can use hand soap. The other day I was teaching somewhere and they had soap that had been watered down to save money, and it worked. I was like, okay, I hope this works, but it totally worked. So you can even water it down. So now I'm going to kind of roll it on my paper towel a little, just get all the excess off. Perfect. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to dip in my masking fluid, and I'm very interested in looking at my reference and seeing where I want the whitest whites, okay? The whitest whites. So I want to retain around her eye. And so I'm basically painting with this fluid. And later on, I can take this fluid off, and I have the white of my paper, which will be awesome. And I'll have that to work with. So I'm doing under her eyes. It's not so white on the top, but I'm going to go ahead and get that in anyway. So you have to make decisions. You can retain any light area you want, and you just have to work with it later, like integrate it into your painting. So I'm going to go ahead and get all this area here, because I know once you lose a white, it really is difficult to get it back. I do have some secrets I can share with you, like Mr. Clean Eraser will get it white again, but depending on what kind of paper you use, it could tear a paper and all that. So I just saved myself a little grief. And so just kind of getting, I like this outline here. It's really light area. I can also do a lot of this in the scratchiness, which I'll show you after. I'm going to take the scratchy brush and do a couple of the ear hairs and stuff. So just kind of look at your reference. I'm going to do the furriness after. So I'm just going to retain this whole area. I don't know what was on my brush, but something weird is going on with my brush. Got this black stuff coming out. So there could be.
So Colleen, I have a question. Are you trying to be very precise in the area that you're masking off, or are you going beyond what you want? Or
Yeah, I'm being very I'm not precise at all. I'm just kind of winging it, just having it look very loose, you know. I was a little bit more tight around the face because that's my focal point, but over here, like I could do really brushy strokes here and it'd come out really cool. I was very, like I said, tight up here. So it's entirely personal, I feel like. Just getting the highlights where the light is hitting. Maybe I'll do a little bit of texture here where there's some fur, where I want to retain. It's hard because there's so much detail in my pet here. So I'm going to do some mark making here with the masking fluid. I'm going to actually, instead of changing brushes, I'm going to splay my brush a little bit and get some of the fluid and do some of the hairs. There's too much fluid on here. Let me dab a little. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this hair, like, because then I don't have to worry about it when I'm painting. I'm also thinking always about design, like where do I want some lights, even if they don't exist, like, oh, I think it would be cool if, you know, maybe there was some in my background too. So I'm just doing a couple, you know, I have a very stripy looking cat here, but I don't want to do every single one. A few is enough. So that's that masking fluid, just so my background is not entirely different. I'm going to do some very aggressive kind of marks with my brush randomly with masking. And not too much, but just.
So Colleen, did you use the soap at to protect your brush?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
good point. So I have and if you don't want to ruin your paint water, if you do it, you know, it's not dirty. What I do is I put a little bit of water in it, just a little drink cup, and then clean it, because now this is going to be sudsy water. So I'm cleaning that up. And yeah, if you don't use the soap, you guys, you will be ruining your brush. I'm just telling you. You may spend an hour picking out of the bristles, but you know, there's still soap in here. So, you know, I can just clean it another time here and just kind of pull all that out. So when you get masking fluid in a brush, it's just like, it looks like this, but in a brush, it'll ruin it. It's really hard to get it clean. So I do this practice. It's just a practice. I never use this misket without treating my brush. And so now I can just toss this. Another thing I wanted to say about being a watercolorist, I always have a dumping station. So I'm just going to dump that water and then I can get fresh water. So it's nice to have, so you don't have to always get up, because I feel like it's distracting. You have to get up and get new water and all that. You kind of forget where you are, your energy shifts. So I always have, and I'm going to get clean water because I'm going to start my background. Or actually it's called an underpainting that I do. So I'm actually done with the soap and the masking, and I usually dry it, but it's so dry where I live, it's already dry. But if you need to mute yourself and give it a little blow dry, I may have a couple parts that got really thick, but I can just dab those. Always make sure it's dry before you paint on it, okay?
Colleen,
Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing where the light comes from. I don't think I do a very good job of figuring that out. Do you tend to like typically have the light coming from one side versus another? Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah. So, you know, let's look at my reference photos. So that's a really good point. Sometimes there's flat light and sometimes there's really strong light. So, you know, you can kind of tell, and it could just be the markings on my cat. But I really think the light is coming from here. The carpet is really light here. Do you see it? But there is a shadow. So it's kind of hard to tell, but the lightest light I'm just looking at is the anatomy of the cat's fur. But if you have a well-lit pet, like coming from a window or something, then your lights will become clearer, especially if it's a dark fur animal, will be very hard. So, you know, if you're composing and you have the ability to choose a light source, that's so helpful. I feel like the light here is a little flat, but I think it's lighter here. It does look light over here, but that could be some reflected light, and there could be more than one light source. This was not my photograph, so and you know, that's a good question. Do you want me to look at your photo and help you?
No, I'll keep watching.
Right.
It's not going to go away right away for me. I have a feeling. So,
It does take some time.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a really good question. And you know, you guys are artists, so you can make up a light source. So if I do this all the time, like there's no light source. Okay, I'm going to make it up. It's coming from the left. So that means this back side will be lighter and, you know, this will be darker. So you can make things up. But one of the things about pets in general is their fur absorbs light. It's not like you have an egg and it's bouncing all over the place, right? It's like, it's very hard to determine a light source on a furry creature. Okay, I'm just telling you. So that's a really good point, and I'm going to include that in my spiel from now on. So very hard. They're absorbing light. Oh, I don't know what that is, but I call it a happy accident. Something was on the back of my paper. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And how I start a watercolor painting is how I always start it. And I take 3 primary colors. So I'm going to have you watch my palette. So I'm going to put this down and this. So I take my primary colors and I make big pools of blue, yellow, and alizarin crimson, really tons of water. If you don't use a lot of water here, you can ruin your painting. I've had people just have way little water and it just doesn't work as well. So I've got alizarin crimson here, and I'm going to put a ton of water in there. Just get a nice little, so I call this a puddle mixture. And a puddle mixture is like, you can't make a design in it. The minute you draw something, it fills in, right? So I like to use the primaries to do an underpainting because it adds a lot of interest. It's very light. And what happens is they mix. Like if your red mixes with the yellow, it makes orange. And if your red mixes with the blue, it makes violet, and vice versa. If it mixes with the yellow, you get green. You don't usually get a lot of mud. So I'm going to get my blue here. I've got cobalt blue, alizarin crimson. You can use ultramarine blue. Tons of water. Like I said, a puddle mixture. Don't be afraid of the water is what I tell people. Okay, and my yellow that I'm going to use is going to be a bright yellow. This, I can't say this word very well, but I'm going to try Aurelian yellow. Aurelian yellow is transparent. I really like it. More transparent than a cadmium. So I'm using a little bit of dirty water here, so I'm getting a little bit of a green, but it's fine. So super watery mixtures, 3 of them. And what I'm going to do is I have a paper towel handy. I have a very large brush. Now, if you don't have a large brush, it's fine. Just get a spray bottle nearby. This is a 24 Cosmo Top Spin brush, which is a really nice brush, actually. And I've mistreated it. It's pretty damaged. I actually was using it as an acrylic brush until I decided it was a really good watercolor brush. And then now it's in my sacred watercolor brush area. So I'm going to go ahead and just really quickly, and I call this activating the canvas, but it literally is not a canvas, it's a watercolor piece of paper. I just do anything I want to it. So I've got my pink, I'm going to get some yellow in here wherever I want. And in a minute, I'm going to be dabbing it. And then I've got my blue, but you see how much water I have, right? My blue just hit the yellow. So I'm going to get some more blue here. It's a little dark, but it's good. I'm going to spray some water here in a sec. So just get it activated, right? That white is so scary. I'm going to give it a spray. And I'm going to dab it. Just kind of, especially where it's dark. And then I'm going to dry this. So it just gives it a little bit of personality. And later on, when you're painting, it gives it, like if you're painting an area that's blue, and then you have pink under there and yellow, it just shifts the blue a little bit, just enough where it's like so gorgeous, like modulation is what I call it. And you don't have to do a whole lot, like the work is done. So you can paint your one wash of something. Ooh, and already something's going on with this paper, but let's go on with it. So it looks like a total mess. Like I said, out of focus, we're going to bring it into focus. Okay, so this is a little dark here. I don't know what happened here. Not really dark, but I'm just going to go with it and it'll just add interest. I don't want you to be stressed when you're doing this because they're all happy accidents and you can fix anything in watercolor. That's a myth. Oh, watercolor is so stressful and so hard because when you're done, you're done. Absolutely not. I can fix any watercolor painting and you can too. So let go of that feeling that, oh, I'm going to mess it up, because you can't really mess it up. And you'll see, I'll mess up and then I'll fix it. So I'm going to mute myself so you don't have to hear me blow drying. Okay. All right, how's everyone out there in Zoom land? You guys good? Thumbs up. Okay, so now the first step is to really look at your animal and say, I'm gonna go ahead and get like a base color. And if I were to like look through that fur and look through those stripes and look through the colics and all that stuff, what is the mothership color, right? What is common to most areas other than the light areas? Is it caramel? Is it like a orangey red? Is it dark brown? Is it black? Is it charcoal gray? So you have to ask yourself. And so one of the things that I learned when I was in graduate school, and this really stuck with me my whole career up until now, it doesn't matter what color you use. What matters is the value of that color. So I think the sample that they used to advertise this paint your pet night was my cat Patches that was here. I painted him in navy blue, okay? But the value was right? I had a very dark, 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 and then I had a medium and then a light value. So I see this pet here. This is very charcoal gray, almost black is the base color, okay? Granted, there's different values of it. So I've retained my light values and I do have some caramel in here. So what I'm going to do to start is do a base coat. There's going to be no stripes, no painting of any of that stuff yet, okay? I'm going to get the dark value in first, okay, which is really weird for watercolor. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix up a medium value and a dark value and of this charcoal, because that's the base. And I'm going to get some caramel and I'm going to get a really loose coat of paint down. So look at yours and see if you can find a light, a medium, and a dark, and what color they are. Don't worry about designs or fur or whiskers or any of that stuff yet. So I'm going to go ahead and mix my dark, medium, and light. And at this point, you want a medium amount of water, not as much water as we used last time. So what I do when I tighten things up is I have a ton of water, then I use a medium amount of water, and then when I'm doing the face, I have very little water. Okay, so that's where you get things into focus. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I really like this Payne's gray that I have on my palette. It's a very blue gray, and I really like it. And you know, it's unbelievable. I think I still have soap on my brush. I cleaned it twice, but there's a big pile of suds. But you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. Oh boy. I'm interested in, you know, like I said, 3 piles, dark, medium, and light. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that going. And remember, I had a puddle. Now it's kind of like you can draw designs in it, so it's not as much water as last time. Oh, the other thing too is I like to have a sponge that I tap a lot of my water off of my brush. It's just a habit that I get into. I clean my brush and then I tap a lot of the water off. That way I don't waste paper towels. And so now I'm going to get some of that caramel color. This is quinacridone gold. And it's not the color I want, but I'm mixing the color I want. And that color, I'm going to add a little bit of red to it. This is a cadmium red, just to get that gold and caramel color. Now in watercolor, if I want this to be lighter, I just add more water. Okay, so I just want to make sure I get the color right. And I really promote you having a test strip nearby where I can look at it and say, oh yeah, that's really pretty. What happens if I add a little bit more water? Is that, you know, I like to play around with where I'm going. Like, what is that going to look like when I add water to it? That's a beautiful caramel color. Let's look at my my dark color I made for the darker areas. And let's look at them together. Do they look good together? You know, beautiful. That's a nice dark, right? So, and then I need a medium value. And so what I can do is take some of this and just add more water. Or what I like to do is I think about my color theory and I say, how do I lighten like something that's almost black? Do I add white? No. But I can add a lighter color. Like I can add this light blue. I think this is, I don't know what this is on my palette, but this is a light blue. So I can lighten the value by adding a lighter color and changing it a little bit. And that's still pretty dark. So when I'm painting it for my medium value, I'm gonna add a boatload of water. So I'm just testing it here. Oh, that is gorgeous. Especially since there's a cat. There's a cat here in it. So very nice. So if you want to change values, you guys just add more water. I always tell my students, don't be afraid of the water. Okay. So I think I'm almost ready to go in, and it does get a little bit not stressful, but you got to work quickly and you got to be ready. So I'm always ready. I'm going to mix up a little bit more because I really think I have soap in here. I'm going to use a brush that has less snap so I can really dig in and get pigment. So if you want more strength, pick a stronger brush. So I really want to dig in and get really dark pigment here. Look at that. That's nice. So I'm using a brush, that flat one I told you about. I love this brush. I've had it forever. And a 1/2 inch flat Winsor & Newton brush. It was probably like $4, but I love this thing. I'll tell you about my favorite brush. I think it's $12. It's a number 10 silver black velvet. And I can send links to John and he can send them to you guys. You can get it on Amazon, but what I really like about it is you can get it some big marks with it, and then and then turn around and roll your brush and get really beautiful points. So I know it keeps going out of focus, but look at that nice point. And then you can splay it and get a really big mark. So I really love this brush. If I were to have it my way, I'd have one in every size, but I like the 10. I think it's a good medium size. And I don't get a dime from telling you that, by the way. I just like it. So I'm going to lighten this one a little bit more and use my powerful brush. I can find where I just put it. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to get some more of that light blue and just lighten that up a little bit. And I like the whole blue theme, as long as my values are right and I got warm and cool. So most of your animals will have some warm colors and cool colors on them, okay, or neutrals.
What kind of blue are you adding in?
I don't know the name of it because it's been on here a while, but it's like it looks like this. It's probably I don't remember the name of it, but it looks like that in its pure form.
It's cerulean blue.
Yeah, it could. You're right. Cerulean. I was going to say
Cerulean.
manganese, but cerulean blue.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you can add any kind of blue, and it will lighten your dark. You could go even green and lighten it a little bit. So, and that's all just like color theory, knowing how to lighten a color. I'm going to change my water here, and I'm going to get my get ready. I got clean water. This is mise en place, right? I've got my clean water. I got my reference photo. I've got my piles made. I've got my spray bottle in case something gets too dry. And I'm going to keep it really loose. Okay, so when I loosen up, I'm going to use a bigger brush. So I've got this, let me use my Cosmotop spin just to keep it loose. And you can watch how I do it. You can use a small brush if you want. It's not going to hurt anything. I just know how I like to work. And I get super tight, trust me. So for me to go in right now, I've got my reference photo, I can see it, and I'm gonna start. And I'm gonna be toggling between my my dark, my medium, and my light. And so I've got my water nearby. So I'm gonna start getting some of these edges. Now, if they dry on me, I can deal with it later, it's fine. You can soften any edge and fix any edge. Now the whole back side of my animal is dark, so I'm just gonna go right in. And I don't like to have a straight line, so I'm constantly moving. Okay, I'm coming all the way down the tail, and there's jagged edges. And you know, if I'm starting to get too anal, what I do literally is just take my fingers in water and go like that and just kind of flick, you know, just flick water around. So do that. Like if you find yourself getting tight, painting, you can even paint outside the lines if you want. So I'm going in with my darks fairly quickly and just finding all those spots where my pet is really dark. And I'm not really worried about too much. I'm just going in. It's really kind of fun, actually. And I can, if I feel like it's going to dry really hard edge like that, I got my spray bottle and I'm getting some distance, just doing a little spraying. Now it's going outside the lines, but you know what? Who cares? I'm going to put some of that in the background, right? Just get a little brush stroke here, wherever it kind of went out, splattered a little bit. It's fine. You want edges that are soft and some that are hard. So where these kind of things happen, I think it's fantastic. It's like a gift, right? So I'm going in with a few little tiny details, and I do have water splattered on here, so I'm automatically getting kind of a second value going on. So because that's kind of wet, I'm now going to get that second color, this one, this bluish color, and I'm going to go in now and just kind of get that in, and it's meeting the darker one and they're bleeding. But I told you, we are going out of focus right now, and then we're going to bring it into focus after. Okay, I'm getting this darker value here. Ooh, I forgot to mask off the nose. Oh well. The lighter, I mean the medium, sorry. So the medium is joining now with the dark. And you know, to be honest with you, the body is not going to be super important. Maybe the paw where it's grabbing the toy will become important, or maybe not. You know, those are decisions I'm going to make along the way. So I got to look at my reference photo because I kind of forget what's going on. And that masking fluid kind of sometimes can throw you off a little bit. Like, what is that? So I'm painting with a flat brush, which is really unusual for me, but I like to try new things. So, and my cat is super textural, so I can make all kinds of marks, right? I can, you know, I can brush like this and the water will form. So think about the form of your cat. Like my cat is very, got a gathered area here. So I'm painting my brush in that direction. So that's one of the ways to show form in art is, you know, having lines in a certain direction. Like we've got here in my cat, I've got lines going in this direction. So I'm going to paint my paintbrush in that direction. Okay. So, and now I'm going to drop in the caramel before this dries. So I think I got a nice base. I have no idea what's going on here in the face. Let me just get some stuff in here. I forgot to mask the nose, which I usually do. That's all right. Everything's a happy accident. It'll all work out. So before this dries though, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and drop in caramel. So I've got it all ready to go. I'm looking at my reference photo. I've got a little bit in the face. I'm just going to drop in. And when I say drop in, I'm going to show you. I got some in the leg and the butt. I call it charging. So I'm going to load up my, I made up a lot of my own lexicon. Like I have a technique later on that I'm going to show you called the shark technique, where we sneak up with water and soften something. And I make shark noises and just a geek, okay? So I'm just dropping some of this warmth into my cool paint. I'm gonna zoom in on that area. Some of it's dry, so it's not really having it, but I can kind of massage it a little. Just tap, 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 tap. Get some more caramel on my brush. I'm gonna go into this back leg over here. That's the front leg. Oh, I forgot to paint this leg here. I'm just gonna do the whole thing caramel. And then we have some on the butt. So each pet should have a warm and cool area. Put some there, and then on its belly. And you know, I had masked off where I would put some of this caramel, so I can, once the masking comes off, I can put some more in there. So I'm dropping that in. And then just because I like to, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. Put some in the face here. So this is why I love this brush. I can, oh, here comes my cat. He's scratching me. Come on, come on, get your bed.
He's upset that you're painting another cat.
Oh, that's a good point, Rose.
Yes.
That's exactly what's going on here. He's like scratching me. He's never done this. Come on, get your bed. It's true, Rosa. He knows. I'm painting
Yeah,
Valentine,
he knows.
buddy. Come here. So, so what I like to do now is, so see how out of focus the cat is? Come here. Hold on, Patch. Come on, buddy. I'm going to go ahead and flick some paint around for my background. And anything that looks a little bit too contrived or too uptight, like I'm just going to splatter. I do this all the time when I'm painting. I just splatter some water. I'm going to go ahead and take some of these colors that I used on my cat, and I'm going to just kind of make some marks in the background. And you know, it can be a lot, can be a little, you can dab it. It's just so it's not so separate from its background. So I'm using the mid value here, and I'm just kind of painting around. I'm going over my cat, softening some areas here. And just a little bit. And I'm going to get some of that warmth, also that caramel color that I had. And I'm going to do something a little different with the caramel. I got a lot of water. I'm going to just kind of tap around. So I have a carpeting. So there's a lot of texture. So creating some spots. And part of it's wet. And so I'm just getting some nice splatters here, a little texture. I'm not going to do that everywhere. I really want to bring some emphasis to the face. So I'm doing a little bit more detail up there. Maybe over here, I'll do a little puddly more mixture of this caramel color. And it's always fun to add in new colors. Like if you're painting this for your bedroom and your bedroom's pink, well, by all means, let's put some pink in, right? So just make sure that whatever you're painting is not so different from everything else, right? That you have, so it belongs and it's all kind of one. So I'm going to use, I know that my friend, this is her cat that passed, so I know they really like burnt orange. So I'm going to get some red and some yellow, a cooler yellow, like a yellow ochre. And I'm going to get this, I'll show you this color. It's really, I'll show you my test strip. This painting is so large, it's hard to show my area, but that's like a nice burnt orange. That was cadmium red and yellow ochre, okay? Made a really nice muted orange. So, and because my cat is got these blues, these colors in, it's a little bit complementary, right? So it's not like in your face blue, green, blue, orange, but it's nice enough where a little bit will go a long way. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this loaded up in my round brush and do a little spritzing around. Like I said, I want most of the focus up here. So putting most of that saturation up here. Make some marks. I love to roll a brush. I just taught a class and we were doing Chinese brush painting, and they do a lot of rolling of their brush. So I'm going to add, really like this ball is going to become important at some point. So I'm just rolling my brush with that orange, and there's a lot of water around, so it's getting very, it's getting very loose. And you want it loose at this point, and it looks like a disaster, right? You're like, how is this even going to turn into anything? So, but trust me, it will. So I'm going to go ahead and roll a little bit over this. It's got a little too speckly for me, so I'm just rolling the brush. So learn that from the Chinese brush painting. If anyone's ever done that, it's super hard. So, all right. Pretty happy with this. I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to put some of this orange in the cat a little bit. I like to speckle, and if you feel like you're getting too tight, just throw some water around. Okay. So really out of focus. I do have some puddles, this puddled, but what I can do, if you have a puddle that formed on your watercolor, I just wring the water out of my brush, and this is like a vacuum cleaner. Here, gone, right? Get that out, vacuum. Okay, it's gone. Okay, no more puddles. I'm gonna mute myself and blow dry. We are at 1 hour and 20 of the demo, so if you need to take like a restroom break, let's take like a 3 to 4 minute break, okay? And when I come back, I'll take questions, and we're gonna start bringing it into focus.
I think I already love her eyes.
Okay, I'm checking in on my Zoom landers. How's everyone doing? Anyone scared to death that theirs looks bad? That's what I am.
When I did my dog, I found that I did a very detailed one and I didn't like it so much as the little light sketch I did. 'Cause I got too much into the fur.
Yeah, that can happen, Pat. That's a really good point. Like, that's why I say that we're going to build up and it's like out of focus and then we put it into focus, you know, and not everything, you know, if everything's in focus, then it becomes too important, right? We're going to do a couple things, the essence of it, the little ball, the little grip that one of the paws has on it. You know, look at your pet right now and see what things make it feel special, you know. Maybe it has really perky ears, or, you know, the caramel patches, or whatever it is about your pet that you really want to bring out.
The intense eyes when they're begging.
Yes, yes. So that's what we're going to start to do now. So I'm going to show you, like, sorry, I had mine on a different view here. Going back to speakers. So you can kind of see now, you know, I'm getting a resemblance, right? But you know, it still needs some work. And, you know, we may not finish the whole thing tonight, but I'm going to go in and show you how to do some fur. And I'm going to start to tighten it up. So it's very loose. Now, what tightening up entails, no pun intended, entail, is I'm going to go into the face right now and tighten it up. And when I say tighten it up, I'm going to get the eyes going and, you know, get maybe some of these panther type stripes in, and I'm going to do it very loosely though. I'm not going to get super anal about it, and really get that dark in there again. So I'm going to start and show you how I do the face, and then I'll probably do a fur area and we'll see what kind of time we have. And one of the things I like to do at this point though is take off the masking fluid, and so I can render the face a little bit. So I just rub it off. Make sure that your painting is dry, because if it's wet, you're going to rub paint right into the white. Okay, so this literally just rubs off. Okay, and you can see now I've got my whites retained, which is really nice. And what happens though, most of them are really hard edged. So I have to really be honest with my painting. Is this a hard edge or a soft edge? Is this, you know, really a stark contrast or a light contrast? So I'm just going to go through my painting. Now that's dry. And I'm going to rub off my masking fluid. And I got some really interesting things going on here. I've retained my lights, which is like, whew. You know, and they look really good. They look really good. Especially the ones where I did details of the furry kind of mark making. And I'll zoom in on this when I'm done so you can see when I'm doing the face. So in this next phase, I'm going to go into the face first and show you how I'm going to do the eyes and the fur and the nose. And keep it really simple. I'm not going to get extravagant. And, you know, our brains are so smart. You don't have to do everything. Our brains will fill in the information. It's a really nice thing about being human. Your circle is not all the way closed, but we see it as a circle. So you don't have to render every little piece of fur, but just the essence of it. So rub that masking off. So I got, you know, I still have a lot of work to do. It's really fun though. So much fun painting. And I told you I already started painting this once, and I was in a real live classroom again, and it just got so busy. I couldn't paint. So it was the first for me. So I told you this is my focal point, so I'm going to start here, and I may move around a little bit, but I'm going to do a little bit of work here. And now I'm going to start bringing this into focus. Okay, right now, it's really, sorry, I'm blocking all my own light. So give me a minute here. There we go. All right. So I think first what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the eyes a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to take that dark color that I was using, and I'm going to take my rigger brush, which is a really pointy one. I could use an inking pen, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So I still have some of that dark color on my palette. So I'm going to go ahead and very little water. My paintbrush is already, it's already wet. So I've got my eyes really close. Get your reference photo close by. And oh, there's a cat here and there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start getting the shape. Now, if you get tripped up like, oh, I'm drawing an eye, just see it as a shape. Okay, so I've got this dark. Now, we tend to outline things, but when I look at my reference photo, this is hard edged over here, but over here it's really soft. Okay, so I got this hard edge just like I see it, and then it gets super soft. So I'm going to take some water on my brush here. So you need to really look at what you're doing, and I'm just going to soften it. It's kind of like just massaging it a little bit. I'm going to have some green eye color going in, but I just want to make sure that I treat this area a little bit differently. I'm going to kind of soften the edge just by putting a lighter value around, just softens it. Okay, and I kind of just massage it. So I'll zoom in on that. So hard edge on this side, and it's softer over here. Okay, so this is, painting is really just about observation. It's and duplicating it, right? So where, I always ask myself, what shape is that? What is that, a hard edge or a soft edge? And I'm going to talk to you about lost and found edges in a minute, but right now we're doing this eye. I'm doing the outline right now, and then really, I need to get the green in, and then I can soften a little bit more. I'm really taking on a lot here. There's a very dark like shape here. It's like almost like a triangle here. So I'm going to get that in. Looking at my reference, it's a little bit lighter and warmer in this little triangle. I can warm it up in a little bit, but since I already have this paint on, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and then I have a shape in the eye. Even though I drew it in as this, it's really a half circle because the light hits it on the other side. Now I need to have a little bit more pigment, but I'm just, right now, I'm going to be putting that green in. So let me darken that a little bit. So really look at your eyes. So like I said, we're getting into focus here. We're tightening up. So less water, smaller brush. Look how great that looks already, right?
So question for you. So
Yeah.
I've got I've got the black dog, and
Okay.
she has, of course, dark brown eyes. So really all I'm seeing is a little bit of reflection.
Yeah,
In the dark. So it's kind of almost the opposite of what you're doing.
right. That's very difficult. I told you I just painted a black dog with black eyes. It's very difficult, but I know you can do it. And I'm going to tell you, just paint the very small variations in color. You're going to have like a look for the light and what colors you see in the light. Like here in my light, I see a white shape and then a dark, and I see speckles and like army green and lime green. And so if you can get some of that detail in there to give the indication that it's a little bit lighter in value, it is because it's not absorbing light, it's reflecting light. So it's even though it's dark, it's still going to be lighter than your fur. Okay, just slightly. So adding a little bit more water will lighten up the color a little bit. Okay, does that make sense? It's not easy a project, and I commend you for taking it on. And very happy to help you with it. So I see in my eye here different greens. I see like an army green, a lime green, and a huge white spot right there that's really going to help. That's the reflection. So we have so much going on in the eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a dark green. And how I'm doing that is I'm adding the same color that I painted the fur to my green. Here, I'm going to show you while I'm doing this. So here's I took green off my palette. I don't even know what color this is, but it's a very ugly green. It's like garish. So I'm adding some of this dark that I had in the cat. And this way it's very harmonious. So I get this darker green here, really nice. Then I have that lighter green that I want to do some of the highlights with. So I'm going to go in all the while looking at my reference, and I'm simplifying. There's a ton of specs and this and that in there, but I'm just simplifying it. And I'm going to get lighter when I get around the pupil, and I'm negative painting to create that white space. And I've got that. And I might not have the color right. I actually don't think I have the color right, but it's green and I like it. I like the color. So now I'm going to go in with that lighter color and get that around here. So I'm leaving that white. And oops, I've got a lot of water. So I knew that was going to happen. So if you have kind of a lot of water and it just kind of bleeds, just tap your brush. Like I said, this is like a vacuum cleaner, and just tap it on a paper towel and vacuuming up the water. I lost control, but I like it. If I lose control, then I just go back in with very little water on the next pass. So just kind of tapping around. I really like that. It's a little bit exaggerated color, but I like that. Anyone who knows me knows I like to exaggerate stuff, so that's cool. Now I got one eye. I'm not saying that eye is done, but it's drying for right now. I'll need to go in and I've lost a little bit of control because it's too wet. So I really like how these edges are a little bit softer. So I'm tapping and it's kind of bleeding out a little bit, which makes it kind of look more natural instead of being a line. So it's kind of cool. I'm tapping a little bit of dark green in here, kind of softening that dark edge. Okay, see how cool that looks? We got a one-eyed cat now. Once I tighten up, like I'll tighten up an edge and do a little fur and a few things, and I don't have to do a ton, you know, the eyes are gonna take it away. And just like, you know, darkening and tightening up an area that you see, you know, just little edge. I could do like a 2-minute little, just putting some darks in it, just brings it right into focus. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get that other eye in, and then play with the nose a little bit, and I'll show you how to do some of the fur around here. So glad someone uses a turkey lacer pin. What's that for? What's the turkey pin? Somebody put a note in the chat. Michelle?
Well, she wrote that when you were scratching with your stick.
Ah, I see. Okay. Now, when I look at the eyes of my reference material, you can tell that this eye is darker than this eye. So the light source is definitely, I didn't see that before. So you can, when you have a highly reflective surface, you can tell the light source better than in fur. I mean, like I said, so this is really cool to know that you can look at this light source in terms of the pet's eyes. So this eye is going to be a little bit darker because it's in shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that here. I completely lost my drawing. Good thing I can draw. And notice where you're, if something is outlined where it gets a little bit thicker, that's always nice. Those are called calligraphic lines. They're not all the same, right? A calligraphic line gets thicker as it goes along. So this is thin, I got thicker up here. That always adds really nice just quality to your work. When you're paying attention to line quality, is it a broken line? Do you see all of it? Part of this line disappears in here. Line quality is big. Edge control, like what's going on with your edges, is big in your painting. And then I see more of this pupil than I did the other one. Look at diamond here. I'm losing paint, so I'm going to go in and get some more.
Colleen, to understand color, can you cool any warm color and then warm any cool color?
Great question. Wow, I love it. Yes. So that's a great question. So yes, so I will show you, like, if I take green, so green, even yellow green is a cool color, even though it's warmer, it's towards yellow, so it's the warmest cool color. So if I take, I'll show you really quick here. This is a warm version of a cool color. It's lime green, okay? Now, if I want to cool that down, I can add a tiny bit of blue to it, right? So then that's still green, but it's a cooler green, right? And naturally, when you're painting with reds, one of the cool things about store-bought colors, alizarin crimson is a cool red. See, there's the presence of blue in that. And a cadmium red has yellow in it, and it's a warm red, right? So if you want to just think about this, I can take that cadmium red and cool it down by adding a little blue to it. So I'll take a little dab of blue. I don't want it to become violet. I'm just tapping a little off, but I want to cool it down a little bit. So there you go. It's nice and cool. Now it's not nearly as cool as this one. They're just different, right? Does that help?
Tremendously. Thank you.
Great question. And I do teach a color theory class where you learn all that stuff. It's all very tricky stuff. It's a really good course and really helpful in all kinds of painting. So I think I might be painting this eye. Oh, I forgot to retain that highlight, so I'm going to move the highlight down here.
I gotta tell you guys, Colleen is a very good teacher.
Aww.
I took her, as you can see, I'm very generous too.
Yeah, Rose is an awesome student. Always taking with me. Seriously, all with me through the pandemic, and just does amazing work and has grown so much as an artist. It's amazing.
Thanks to you, Colleen. Thank you.
Yeah, I love, like, I thought I heard your voice when you came in. I'm like, Rose is here. And
I'm not gonna miss this one. I'm not doing it, but I'm really learning a lot just looking at. Usually when I'm in class, I tend to do the exercise and the projects, and I'm glad that I'm just looking at you because I'm learning so much. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad. And one of the things I was going to tell all of you about, just by watching, your brain is taking it all in. And actually, they were doing all these experiments on piano players and how the ones that were actually physically playing a piano and the ones that watched and mimicked playing with no keyboard had the same amount of growth and retention of knowledge. So watching is using a different part of your brain that is super duper important. So I think it's really important to watch as much as you do. So I'm glad that you brought that up because I've been studying this whole phenomena. I just think it's just really interesting.
Yeah, when I do classes online, I often will run through it without doing anything, just run through it and then go back and do what they're walking through.
Yeah, it's really good. So for those of you like to even we all know repetition is important, but to watch it again and try to, grasp the concepts. Some things are hard to get and grasp. So thank you all for being here. Really. So I don't know if that eye has a little bit more dimension than this eye, because I lost control. I had too much water. So, but right now it's fine. I can noodle with those eyes forever, and I probably will. But I want to go in and start showing you how to do fur, just because I don't want to take up too much of your evening. So still out of focus, but I can do a couple of interesting marks just to kind of, I'm looking at edges. Whoa, I just had a ton of water go down that brush. Just defining little edges, tightening that up a little bit. See, I'm getting a little definition there. I can leave this all kind of crazy if I want. And I told you about some of those edges, like over here, are super furry. So I'm going to get my, I'm going to get this edge here. So I'm trying to look at my definition here. I love this white here. And then I've got this nice, I've got this line that comes, and I know the minute I do this, it's going to be too stark because it's the only black mark, right? But I am going to put it in because it defines this cheek. So it kind of comes down and it defines this edge here. It looks ridiculous, right? It's too tight. So I need to have other marks around here that are buddies with it, right? So I'm going to add a couple marks that are nearby. Some, like I said, I don't need to do all of them, just a couple gives it the essence. Still a little too tight for my liking, so I'm going to go in and soften this a little bit and try to get, I'm going to use my stick actually. I'm just going to kind of scratch it a little bit. I wet it and I'm just kind of softening it. And I can't express to you how much I use my stick. So this is what I do with everything. So now I'm just going in and creating like, oh, there's some white paint on here that helps soften it a little bit. Just kind of get the essence of my, that my animal has these really interesting stripes. And, when I get in, I want to so this is what I mean about edges, okay? So this edge here goes right into the carpet. I don't know where it starts and stops, okay? There's really no definition. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on it. There is absolutely no definition at all here where it starts and stops. That's what you call a lost edge. Lost edges are gorgeous, okay? They just are. This is a found edge, okay? This edge is so dark and that carpet is so light. It doesn't mean it's a complete hard edge. It's just, where the head starts and the carpet ends, okay? Here, I don't know. So look for those spaces where you can lose an edge and where you can find an edge, okay? I really love how his belly, Bella's belly goes right into the carpet. That's a lost edge. That is a gift. So when I photograph things, I look at this, I'm like, is it all hard edged? Is it, and then look at this edge here. It's all very bumpy and there's a little offshoot. And I look at all these little things. So I might bring that out because she's holding this beautiful ball. And then we have some reflected light over here, this green. So it's all really about observation. I really love this edge here. I might get some of those white flicks in. So I think what I'll do right now, just to show you how to develop your fur at this point when you're in a fuzzy stage, I'm going to do a little bit of that work on the paw. And then I'll go in and do some of the whiskers to show you. John, are we okay on time that I'm like totally hogging your meeting?
Oh, yeah, you're
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna get some of that dark on my toothbrush and get some scratchiness in the head. So, and I can go in later. I'm gonna define, but just see how nice that is. I mean, I'm sorry, but I love the toothbrush. Just a little bit, right? I don't need to do every little thing. And then she has some beautiful, more warmer colors. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to get a couple over here. It only takes a couple marks. And you know what? If you make a mark and you don't like it, just take that flat brush and rub it right out. I really like this area here. I'm getting some really nice scratchy marks, really pretty. So see how this still bothers me, and I'll fix it. I'm gonna make, there's a little offshoot here kind of coming off of that. It will kind of break it up a little. So if something is too stark like that, just soften it. You know, we have, some animals have very stark transitions and stark stripes. And that's okay, but when they're all by themselves, they just look really strange. It has another one off this eye too. Let me get some overlap going here. Okay, so I'm starting, see how what I talk about it coming into focus, and now I'm gonna get some scratchy in here. Now, when you have an area like this where there's dark meeting light, this happens in a lot of things. Think about when you're painting a tree, you can see sky, and then you see little holes in the sky coming through the tree. So I'll put a little tree in there and a little sky over the tree. So that way they kind of meet. So I'm going to do some going this way, and then I can go back in and get my white going the back the other way, if that makes sense. So at this point, I'm getting out my pointy brushes. Like I see an opportunity here to really define this edge. So I'm looking for opportunities to lose an edge or find an edge. Now I have very little water on this, and my brush is very splayed, which is going to also give me very awesome marks. This is what I call the dry brushing. So I'm just adding a couple of details there, getting a little bit darker. It's a little bit stark, but once I kind of get some more dark in, it will belong. So make sure things have friends. You know, if you're going to put a dark in, make sure you have a friend. I want to define this edge right here. This edge, I'm going to darken the, I have a little bit of fur coming off, a tiny bit, just in one area. I'm just going to get a little bit softer over here. And then tighten up this jawline here just a little bit. So a little soft edge, a little hard edge, right? Soften, that looks a little, that shape is a little strange. And I can get my stick and do some scratching in there. Especially when it's wet, you can do a lot. You can re-wet anything once it's dry. I'll re-wet an area just to show you. So I want to define this area by the nose here. It's a little dark shape right here. So I don't have that in there. So I'm going to wet, I'm going to do a little wet into wet technique. So I'm going to wet this area that comes right from the eye. And it comes over here. So I'm just painting with water. Obviously, you don't have X-ray vision, you can't see it. But if you get paint, it will only go where the water is. So I'm going to tap, see that? It's only going to go where the water is. So it can be really soft and just defining that area. So that I call the path of least resistance. It's going to just go where the water is. And I'm just kind of noodling it a little bit. So I just darken that area to bring out the nose. Feel your face. Your nose sticks out the most, right? In your face. Well, unless you have a big chin. I'm feeling my chin. I'm like, So, this is sticking out further. It's going to have more light. So when you're modeling your faces and noses, like the end of the nose has a lot of light on it. And then as it goes under, we're getting darker here. Right? So now, one of the things, I'm going to pivot here for a minute. I'll go over to the paw and show you a little bit of that. So you're an artist and you can order things the boss, right? So this is closer to the light, so it's lighter. And we may even have a little shadow here. This could be a cast shadow from this, or maybe it was just really darker, who knows? But you have to, right now when I look at mine, it's one big blob, okay? So this is what I say when you bring things into focus. So how can I do that? Well, I need to establish the edge, and I'm gonna do that by painting the darker area. I'm using the fine point here. I love how it comes in. And I'm going to soften it in a minute here. And then it kind of comes over here. So, and I'm going to show you, so I'm just now ordering this in front of that by darkening it. And I don't have to get every detail. And now this is where my little shark technique comes in. I'm going to soften this edge by coming in with water. I'm going to come in with clean water. I'm going to use a smaller brush. I'm coming up with clean water to that edge, so it can all soften in. I think I waited too long and it dried. I'm going to lose control. So let me just dab this a little bit. I'm going to do that again. Okay. So I think I just didn't have enough paint. I'll get a little bit more paint. And water. So I'm creating that edge of this paw. So I just didn't have enough. I'm going to create this very jagged edge of this paw. And then there's a very light area here. And I'm bringing out this paw, coming around. And then I want to soften this edge a little. So I'm going to go up with some water. It's really dark right now. So I'm going to soften right here with water. I'll massage it a little bit. I really like that caramel showing. It's way too dark. So what I'm going to do right now is just take a paper towel and dab it. And I just created that definition. Now I haven't rendered anything else, so right now it looks very stark, but once I get, the ball in here and other things, it's all going to start just coming into focus. Right now, like I said, this is a little dark, and I can take that flat brush and create some definition here, some variation. So when I'm talking about this paw, I'm talking about this area right here. There's some caramel in there. There's little stripy things. It's not that dark. It's actually more dark here. So I can take my flat brush, take some water out of it, and lift out. Just lift a little bit. And you can scrub it. And just lighten it a little bit. Soften it. And maybe leave it a little bit darker over here. Now, this paper is behaving a little strangely. So I still have a lot of work to do, but I kind of move around. Like I'll do this area, and then this paw has a nice light area, and it's almost a lost edge. It actually is a lost edge, but it's actually a little bit darker around here. So I'll take another color. I'm painting with my left hand, which I never do, but I want you to see. I'm going to bring out that edge with a very light color in the background just kind of establishes it, right? That's called negative painting. Negative painting makes my head spin. Really does. But now I've got that white edge established. I went around it with my background to really bring it out. And if I want to bring it out more, let's say maybe I don't want a lost edge there. So I can go in with more pigment. Bring out that white even more. See that? So this is what I'm talking about. Like, you know, just this here is a very furry lost edge with some caramel. So I'm going to take a toothbrush and I'm going to go over it. Let's do some scratching. Oop, it got a little muddy. You have to go in the right direction. And I'll show you how to do the, you know, once I get dark in here, darker, I'm going to do a couple of the tiger stripes in the paw, just a couple. Some are bigger than others. And then some go up. But just keep it really loose. And then I'm going to define that. There's so much work to do. I could go all over. There's a little bit of a cute little paw here. You don't have to paint the whole thing. I just did little dots. And there's a really nice defining mark here. I don't have to paint like a line, but I can soften it. Soften. And then I've got that tennis ball. I think I'm going to put that in and then I'll do the mouth. You can, I hope this was helpful. We're coming on 2 hours. I told John I would do a couple hours. So, but this, I could go on and on and on. And you guys would be like, we're ready for bed, Colleen. And I'm not going to paint all the details of the ball, but I am going to put some of this reflected light. And I just know from this is going to be casting a shadow on this ball here. So I'm going to put a little bit of darker green right here. Just tapping a little green along this edge because I know that the paw itself is casting a shadow on the ball itself. It looks a little stripy for my taste, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to flick some water on it. Let's solve that problem. I'm going to quickly do the mouth, but you see how it's coming into focus, you guys? It definitely still needs a lot of work, but you know, maybe another hour, it would be something that I could call a cat. I'm going to take a little pink and get that nose. And there's a lot of outlining in this nose too, but I want to get a little bit of that established. A lot of water because it's really not that pink, but we can exaggerate. Get this nose in. It's so strange about it. I'd like you guys, I'd love to see what you're doing too. I'm going to get this. Need some darks in there, but very cute. I'm going to get, we'll let that dry. But I'm going to also put in some of the dark whisker holes over here, and I'm going to show you how to do the white whiskers. I'm going to do a couple of these. Some, you know, some are barely visible and some are really dark. So I'm going to do a couple of them and then dab it. And then I'm going to take my gelatin pen. Hopefully it's working. Or I can also take white paint and do whiskers. I'll do both to show you my jelly mark. So I'm just going to take fast. And they barely show up because this is very light. Right? See that? So cute. So my background could be darker and then the whiskers will show up a little bit better. But you can also take white paint, which I have some right here. Chinese white, titanium white, American Journey. You can buy, it's called Chinese white. It's really gouache is what it is. Let me take it right out of the tube, so it's super thick. And you know, I can do little flicking with that. Or I can get my stick and paint with my stick too. But there's not any water on this, so I recommend a little bit more water, but you're going to get a very nice scratchy mark. And you can go, you know, if you missed a highlight, you know, part of this highlight here comes on the black. It's just really nice. It's those little tiny details that really give it personality. That eye, I think my eye is too big, but I can tighten it up later. I think I need more black in there. So it's just all about shapes. And if you get really caught up in your pet and you can't figure it out, turn it upside down. It'll just give you a whole new perspective, right? Like I said, I still have hours to work to do on it, but how I did all of this is how you do everything, right? Look at your edges. Are they furry? Are they dark? Are they, you know, over here, there's fur coming off. So I'm going to get my toothbrush and I'm going to go, you know, create some marks with that same color, make them really furry, right? So just bringing that into focus.
If you weren't teaching, how long would it take you to do this?
Let's see. It would probably take me another hour to 2 hours, I bet, to finish it. You know, it depends on if I'm rendering the, if I'm going to render the body in real detail. Usually I don't. I leave the bodies really loose and the background really loose, and really just tighten up what's important. Like to me, the ball and the head, and maybe something over here so it doesn't look like this is all in focus and this isn't. Just a little area that I feel is important down here. And maybe I'll ground it and put, you know, put a big dark area down here. And I give it like a shadow kind of effect here. Just kind of ground it. Now, if you do something and you don't like it, you know, you can get rid of it. You just have to work a little bit and scrub it. I use, I'll show you my secret weapon. There's something, you guys know, cleaning, Mr. Clean. I have little erasers if you want, if you really want to get rid of something, you can. So you just wet it. It's that Mr. Clean cleaning thing. I don't know what.
Oh, the magic eraser, right?
Magic eraser, yeah, and you can go in. Just be careful because you can peel the paper. Just be very light, and then be ready to dab with your paper towel. Now the blue I used was really staining, so I'm not. I know that it's going to be harder to erase, but it's doable. You know, if you want to get rid of an edge. So you can just soften it with this Mr. Clean eraser, but you know, other colors that are not super staining, it will come right off. So any questions, or I'd love to see some progress. Anyone want to share? Anybody out there in Zoom land? I can highlight you, or John, go to gallery and highlight if anyone wants to show anything. We have, awesome, look at this, Renee. Could you highlight Renee, John?
Yeah. All right, there we go.
Wonderful, look at that. That has awesome personality and happiness. Oh, you're muted, Renee.
You're muted, Renee. We cannot hear you.
I really do not like watercolor.
Mhm.
Oh, you did a great job.
It's a hard medium, but boy, that looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, that looks great. Let's see, anybody else out there? John, what about, oh, we got Ellen Peterson. You want to highlight her? Oh my gosh. And look at that. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I love it. What personality. Love it.
That's my black dog.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job. That is one of the
Thank
hardest.
God.
If you have an all white dog or an all black dog, it's very difficult. So good job, Ellen.
And I haven't done watercolor in probably 20 years.
Oh gosh, you guys are doing
There you
great.
go.
What about you, John? What do you have to show there?
I have my little dog here.
Okay, let's see.
Oh,
You
I've
got your
got-
virtual- Oh, wow.
Wow. Wow.
Awesome.
Nice.
That looks great.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Job.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
There you go. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Um,
Okay, anybody else before, and any other questions before we sign off, or anyone want to share anything?
All right, well, thank you so much, Colleen. I think I definitely could have spent another hour with you on this, but I think we have to get going. So
Yes.
this recording will be posted as soon as it downloads and I can get it up on YouTube. So it'll be a couple of days probably, but we'll get it up as soon as we can, and we'll send the link out.
Yeah, and just keep going, like soften areas. Remember, I made that very stark stripe. It was all by itself. Once it had little friends, softening edges, ask yourself those questions. Where can I put it into focus? Where can I loosen up a little bit? What's important, what's not important, So really great job, everybody.
Thank you.
Pat Calabro,
Thank you.
you're working on your iPad? Yeah? I would love if everyone
You're-
could.
You're muted, but you're muted.
I had to find the friggin' window that I was at. But if you want, we could, I have to find it, but I was gonna show you my iPad sketch, but I have to find it. Hang on a sec.
Okay, yeah, we'd love to see it. I always support any kind of medium. I have students that work in fabric, they work on their iPads. So, anything you want to work in is okay by me. So, yeah, if you want to email me your,
Yeah, I'd love to have you look at it.
yeah, everybody email me yours when you're done.
Here it is.
I can,
If I can share screen, I can show it to you.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Okay. There he is.
Oh,
oh my God,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Keep in mind, he was black, and I could show you his picture, but he just fades back into, he's like a shadow,
Yeah.
So I just sketched the most prominent parts of him that I thought were fun. His
that's
eyes
great.
are the best part, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Look at his tongue. So,
Yeah,
Cute.
yeah, that he smiles a lot. For a dog who had an abusive childhood, he's recovered quite well.
Oh,
I love it. Well, thank you, Pat, for
You're
sharing.
welcome.
good job,
Thank you.
Pat.
Colleen, could you send your final picture out or put it on the website?
Yeah,
when you
I
finish it,
will.
let
I
us
will. Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
gonna-
send it to me, and I'll put it up on the Concord Art Association website where I have your work.
Okay, the pressure is on. The pressure.
Yep. Show and tell. Show and tell.
All right.
Oh,
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful
you.
evening.
You.
Very good. Oh, there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, John.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
I thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.